All right. Testing 1, 2. Okay, mighty companions, can we acknowledge ourselves? Can we do it? Can we do it? That's what I'm talking about. I see I can tell there's a beautiful day in Colorado today. And I appreciate you all coming out. It's I know how we like to climb mountains and hike and run and do all kinds of stuff, yeah. So I'm glad that you came to the Course in Miracles today. Those of you on Facebook Live, I want to welcome you to the Course in Miracles. I'm Earl Purdy, and we're going to go deep and see if we can get the message that Spirit wants to give us today. That's why we're here. It's no accident that those of us who are here are here. We're going to talk about the incorruptible body. That's the name of the section that I'm going to start on today. It's called the incorruptible body. That sounds intense. So let's see what we're going to hear about with it. It's on page 417. For those of you who are following in the Foundation for Inner Peace version of the Course in Miracles, it's on page 417, chapter 19, the attainment of peace. The incorruptible body, page 417 in the text. Normally I like to start out with some music, but I left my cord that allows me to do that. So evidently that wasn't in the divine plan for today. But that's okay. You all are all musical. You look like notes, right?
Yes.
So one thing I would like to say to you is that if you haven't started studying the Course in Miracles or started reading the Course in Miracles on your own, I would really, really suggest that you start doing that, because it is just mind-boggling how many miracles that I have experienced and the people that I know who have been doing this intensely have been experiencing in their lives. If you really want to see your experience change in ways beyond your wildest imagination, beyond what you would have expected, the Course in Miracles seems to correspond with that. So I would love to advise you to get off the fence if you kind of on the fence, or you're telling yourself it's hard to read or it's difficult to read. All the things that our ego comes up with to keep us from actually doing it. Do yourself a favor and actually start reading and studying the Course. It is your symbolic gesture to show that you're willing to be healed. That's what the Course in Miracles says. You're doing this stuff. It's your way of saying, I'm sincere about this. I'm not just kidding around and talking. I actually want to change my mind. I actually want to have miracles in my life. So just like anything else in life, you have to put something into it in order to get what you want out of it. And just listening to someone talk, even though that can be helpful and supportive. I've been studying the Course for almost 40 years. I know I can save you some time. I'm very familiar with the tricks that the ego part of your mind will try to pull to jam you up, to keep you from doing it. But really, you're struggling in ways probably that you really don't have to. Because if you do a symbolic gesture of studying the material, you will see that it is not a fairy tale to say that there is the Holy Spirit, that there is a higher power that is working with us, that would be glad to help us remove the blocks to our happiness. So, stop jamming yourself up. Love yourself enough to call on wisdom that's greater than yours. Get out your ego. There's an intelligence behind everything and a love behind everything that's more than we could possibly even imagine. And the best way to study the Course is to realize that the guidelines say you need not believe the ideas. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to welcome it. Some of it's going to be hard to believe. Some of it's going to be hard to believe. Some of it is going to be hard to believe. You're going to get triggered. I'll say that again. You will probably get triggered. Right? You're not being asked to analyze it. I do not do Course in Miracles analyzing classes. because the Course itself says that analyzing it destroys the meaning of it. So why would I try to be a true facilitator of the Course and then do just the opposite to what the Course itself is telling me to do? So I'm not going to analyze the Course. It says that just destroys the meaning of it. What you want to do is remember what the message is that we're being given. And and I always let Spirit choose this section for me, because I've read this book over 100 times, so I can open it up anywhere, and I'm familiar with it. And so before I come into the class, I ask Spirit, what do you want me to talk about today? I do something that's really deep and psychic and spiritual and powerful. I use the random number generator on Siri. And I said, give me a random number between 1 and 622, or 622 pages in the text. And then I said, what do you want me to talk about today? And today it came up with the incorruptible body.
Wow.
I know none of you have any fixation on the body whatsoever. Never crosses your mind at any level. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go through the paragraph and then see, well, what is the message that Spirit is trying to give us? And I don't mind, and then I'll give you a chance to ask questions or make comments. But remember, whatever you ask me, I'm going to bring it back to what we're talking about. I'm not going to go off to something else, because that would be disobeying. And I'm so good at obeying. It's my specialty. It's obeying. That's why I'm in this stuff to begin with, because I'm obeying, right? Yeah, all of you all know that you're weird, and it's good to be around some more people as weird as you are. And finally, thank God. All right. The Course in Miracles is only talking about love or fear. Okay, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to talk about the simplicity of the Course. That's right. I'll tell you. I never get used to looking at myself. I look down, and sometimes I pass by the mirror after I get out the shower and go, who are you? How did you get in here? Because I don't look nothing like I used to. But anyway, but it's not me anyway. Isn't it great to know your body is of you?
Your body is incorruptible.
Yeah, your body is incorruptible. Now, so the Course is talking about loving perception and fearful perceptions. It's talking about if we can give ourselves new interpretations of what we see, out of these new interpretations, we will be able to experience peace. Because you're giving everything you see all the meaning that it has for you. So therefore, if I can give what I'm seeing a meaning that gives me peace, then the Course says, then you can hear the voice of your inner guidance. That you can't hear your inner guidance if you're in conflict, anger, fear, and guilt. So that's why many people don't hear the voice for God, because they are constantly upset about one thing or another. So the Course says it means we don't hear the voice. So what we need is new interpretations that would allow us to have peace, that would allow us to hear the voice for the Holy Spirit, which is the voice for love. We're only talking about love or fear. So when the Course says the ego, it's talking about the fear-based part of your mind, the part of your mind that's learned from the world. The ego is just quite literally a fearful thought. It's a frightened mind. It's the part of the mind that thinks it's separate. It's a part of the mind that has a social security number. Okay? That's the ego. So the first sentence says, from the ego, which is the fear-based part of the mind that has learned the lessons that the world has taught, came sin, the belief in sin, the idea of sin. So the Course is saying the whole idea of there being any such thing as sin came from a frightened, guilty, fearful mind. Okay? And he says from the ego came sin and guilt and death in opposition to life and innocence and to the will of God himself, which is the will of love. So from my ego came the idea of guilt. From the love in me comes the idea of life and innocence. So how can you tell whether you're listening to your right-mindedness or your wrong-mindedness? If you're listening to wrong-mindedness, which is another term for the ego, there is some part of you that believes you're sinful or that believes you're guilty. And the Course even jumps to another level and says the idea of death, that you die, come from a fear-based part of your mind. That who and what we really are is eternal. So again, that's the truth, and that doesn't mean we necessarily believe it or accept it yet. Okay? So if you have that opposition between love and fear, peace and conflict, the Course in Miracles says, where can such opposition lie but in the sick minds of the insane? So the Course is very gentle. It just says we're totally friggin' insane. Okay? So if a crazy person pinch your butt and if somebody said, oh, they're insane, then you give them a pass, right? You go, oh, he's nuts, so I'll let that pass, right? So forgiveness actually comes from understanding that there's a part of us that's just crazy as hell. Okay? And if we were to realize that, the Course says we'd be moving in the right direction, because the whole idea of guilt and that we're limited and that we die and that we're sinful, the Course in Miracles comes from a sick mind. And a sick mind is a mind that's dedicated to madness and set against the peace of heaven, which is the peace of love. So some people are dedicated to madness and dedicated to fear and dedicated to what's not true, even if it's not serving them. Yeah. Right. You know, people can see stuff that don't work over and over again, and they still will continue to be dedicated to a way of looking at things, which means you have to ask yourself the question, do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? Right? And then it says, one thing is sure, God, which is love, which is the creator, created neither sin nor death. So love doesn't create the idea that you're sinful or guilty, and love doesn't even create death. That which created us does not create death. So that means that there is no one, this is deep, but I say this because some of the stuff is going to be startling. No one dies. Yeah, no one ever. The body is dropped. The body is not permanent, but your soul, your spirit, who you really are, this is not your first time at the rodeo. Okay? You know, we couldn't get anything this jammed up in just one lifetime. That's it. Come on now, y'all. We're not that efficient that we've done it. So what is the point? Well, it says, well, one thing is sure, that God, which is love, did not create the idea that you're sinful, nor death, and wills not that you be bound by the idea that you're sinful or the idea that you die. So Spirit does not want you to be limited by limited ideas that tell you that you're just a body that dies. Okay? And it says, the shroud, I love this. It says, Spirit, God knows of neither sin nor the results of sin. So if I love you, I'm not going to see you as sinful. And if I love you, I'm not going to be conscious of the results of seeing you as sinful. So the Course in Miracles is trying to teach us the difference between love and fear. It says we don't know the difference between love and what's not love. It says that's our biggest problem, that what we call love is specialness, and what we call love is just a special form of fear. So what we call love is singling out somebody for your special attention that you give to them as long as they act right. That's what goes for love for us, if we could be so honest. Okay, he says our love is just a bargain made with guilt. You know, I'll do this for you if you do this for me, and if you don't, it'll make you feel so guilty you do it. Anybody familiar with that? Yes. Okay, so the Course in Miracles says, the shrouded figures in the funeral procession march not in honor of their Creator, whose will it is that they live. Those in a funeral procession are not following God's will. They are opposing God's will. So if I am looking at it as if that person has died, that is in opposition to the will of God. That's in opposition to the will of love. Because love is going to focus on their eternal life, their true spiritual nature, and what's the truth about them. Fear-based minds that are very unconscious and only believe what the world has taught them, then they're marching in the funeral procession, and they're looking at it like this person actually does not exist anymore. I read some books that have said no one is gazing at the body in the casket with more wonder than the person that's supposed to be dead.
Oh. Wait, can you say that again?
Yeah, it's like the once you leave the body, you still, it's like that movie Ghost. You remember that movie Ghost when he died, but he was like, wow, she was crying and freaking out, and he was like, hey, I'm here, but right, that's it. That's the way it is. Yeah. You drop the body, but your consciousness still exists. So there's So at the funeral, it's the person that's supposed to be dead that's probably checking out the body in the casket with more wonder than anybody. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, it's like, well, God. So when my body's dropped, I'm going to see who shows up. And if y'all don't show up, I'm going to hunt you.
Right.
That's right. I just might be hanging around just when you get out the shower. But don't pay attention about that. Okay. Now. Oh my God.
Maybe you won't want to invite some people.
What do you mean? That's right. That's right. That's right. So that first paragraph was basically telling us if you believe in sin and guilt and death, you're opposing the will of God, that we got to make the decision that our Creator wants us to have life and innocence and love, and that if you are believing in death and you're believing in sin and guilt, you're not following the Creator's will. You are opposing the Creator's will because what we were created by is unconditional love, and something that loves you would not want you dead.
Right.
It would want you to cease to exist. So even though you can't prove what I'm saying, if once you want to move in that direction, the promise is you will be shown the truth of it. But first you have to make the decision you want to go in that direction. So any questions or comments about the first paragraph in the Incorruptible Body? Any ahas? Those of you online, any ahas also? I want to welcome all my mighty companions on Facebook Live. It's always good to see all these wonderful people from all over the world.
Joanne's appreciating. She says, "Enjoying Your Own Funeral" is a cool book about the afterlife.
Enjoying your own funeral. That's awesome. We've died more times than we care to remember, but we have to get really sincere about this one so we forget. The Course calls it going into the dream of forgetfulness. When we get here, we forget what we really are, so we can really be focused into whatever the lesson is that we need to learn. But tell me, does it make you feel good to believe that who you really are continues to live on?
Oh, yes.
Right. Okay. That's how you can tell that's probably the truth.
Yeah.
Because the truth inspires you. And something that's not the truth depresses you. Right? So just keep that in mind when you're trying to figure out what's the illusion and what. Well, if love is behind everything, then the truth should make you feel good. It should make you feel better. And what's not true is what depresses us. So anybody? Yes, Megan.
You know, what was interesting to me as you were reading that was just that it is really insane to think that even like if I were to create something, like if I were to try to build something or paint something or do something artistic, like why would I create it to not work, be really imperfect, be super flawed, you know, not have beauty, and to just like owe me all that time and energy and love I just put into it. And that's like a lot of times the insanity of how I think society, or like I have in the past, viewed God, you know, as this like person that created me to be innately flawed, to struggle, to suffer, and all this stuff, and that is insane. Because why would I create something? Like, why would I spend any of my time or energy or love into something in order, like, I'm creating something that's going to really be horrible. Let's do this. But you're going to owe me.
And you got to straighten it out on your own.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Great. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Anybody else before I go on? No. Okay. Here we go. And what is the black draped body they would bury? It's a body which these people dedicated to madness, these crazy, dedicated to death, right? They see the body as a symbol of corruption, a sacrifice to the belief in sin, offered to the belief in sin to feed upon and keep itself alive. People look at the body as a thing condemned, damned by its maker, and lamented by every mourner who looks upon the body as himself. If the people at the funeral they're actually being reminded of their own mortality.
Yes.
So when people go to a funeral, part of the sadness is wondering when they're going to be there.
But why is that sad? I mean, I look at it this way. Heaven's the ultimate place. Why would we not want to go there? My father's 89, and he goes, why is it everybody is dying around me? He goes, I feel so sad. And I said, Dad, you missed the point. The point being is, hey, they're free. They're with God. They're in heaven. He goes, well, maybe that's why I decided to have a big party after I die. I said, yeah, it's a celebration of your life.
But think about that. Think about the fact that you're saying that because that's how you learn to look at it.
Yes.
And they are looking at it the way they're looking at it because literally that's how they learn to look at it. Now, and not only was I taught that I was going to die, I taught that if I had I was raised fundamental Christian Baptist. So I was going straight to hell. You know, I knew I was going straight to hell. But this what I did prom night assured me hell right there. You know, I knew I was doomed. But anyway, you know. So, but think about it. Think about it. The Course in Miracles says perception is learning. That what you see is what you learn. Right? So you see me as a man because you learn to see me as a man. You see this as pants because you learn. So he says all we're ever looking at are the definitions that everything is being given. So we're not really looking at reality. We're just looking at concepts and ideas that we learn. And so everybody is going to see what they believe.
Right.
See, that's the thing. Perception, physical senses are lovely liars. All your physical senses do is witness back to you what you believe. Not necessarily the truth. So to you, it will seem real. You know, people don't like me. Well, I will edit out everyone that smiles to me, and I'll only see the people who look like they frown at me. And I don't realize I'm just seeing what I believe. I'm not seeing what's necessarily the truth. So whatever's happening in your world right now, however you're perceiving your world right now, just remember that you're just seeing what you believe. That not what's necessarily true. Perception is not reality. Perception is just an interpretation. It's just a learning, right? So from the moment you were born, everybody started to describe to you what everything was. And then when you got to the point you could make all the erroneous perceptions by yourself without any help from anybody, then you become a member of society. So a member of society is just someone that's meeting the world on its own terms with the beliefs that the world has given us. People who are waking up are the ones who question this and go, wait a minute, this seems, like you said, this seems crazy to me. And the Course in Miracles itself says that the Course in Miracles is not something that a totally insane person could ever get through studying it. That the Course in Miracles, it's for people who are partially sane. So we bragging, you know what I'm saying? I'm partially sane. That's right. That's why because he said a partially sane person is a person that can listen to reason.
Yeah, totally.
And a person that's insane, they don't listen to reason. Reason means nothing to them. And so that's why they suffer so bad. So the Course in Miracles goes on to say, you who believe you have condemned the child of God to this, you are arrogant. So it's arrogant for you to believe your perception of yourself is truer than God's. Your Creator is saying you're priceless, you're a treasure, you're unlimited, and then you go, no, I'm just this pitiful person that nothing goes right. The Course says that makes you arrogant. You're being arrogant every time you criticize yourself. Isn't that an interesting way to look at arrogance? Yeah. You know, I'm being told I'm a brilliant being, and then I think I'm not, and that's arrogant. For me to think my feelings about myself, my thoughts about myself are truer than God's. So I'm arrogant from time to time. Is there anyone else that's arrogant from time to time? Okay, all right. We got some arrogant people in here. Yeah, and that would be so cool that I tell somebody, you know, I was really being arrogant today. I thought I had lack. I thought I had fear. I thought things don't go right for me. That I'm just a victim of everything. I was just ridiculously arrogant today. I'm seeing myself other than the way my Creator defines me. See, that's a cool way to look at arrogance. Then the Course in Miracles says, what is the arrogance? The arrogance of believing in sin. The arrogance of the pride of guilt. Now I'm going to go back one more sentence. But you who would release your brother are but honoring the will of his Creator. So if I would release you to the love, to the truth of who you really are as a child of God, now I'm honoring the will of God. If I see you the way God sees you, it's the same as saying, if I would see you the way love sees you, now I'm honoring my Creator. Okay? And then it says, the arrogance of what? Sin, the pride of guilt, the sepulchre of separation, that's another fancy word for tomb, are all part of your unrecognized, what? Dedication to death. The Course in Miracles says we don't know it, but we're dedicated to death. We're dedicated to the idea of death. people will say the one thing you can count on is taxes and death.
Yeah.
So we have a real deep faith in the idea of death, which makes sense if you're having a miserable life that's not fulfilling on any level and you're lonely and you're upset. You know, death seems attractive to some people. A lot of people feel like it's after death that they're going to get all the good stuff. That you can't enjoy this realm. You got to die before you have a good time. That's a trick. That's arrogant. Because that's the same as saying my creator isn't everywhere present. Like my creator is only present in my life after I die.
Right.
So the Course in Miracles is telling us that you have an unrecognized dedication to the belief in death. Okay, we just accept that as true, that we die. And so that's also opposing the will of God, because that's not true. The glitter of guilt, I love this, the glitter of, you were talking about glitter. Right before the class. The glitter.
You like glitter.
Yeah. Somehow or another it makes perfect sense. I don't know why. Yeah. The glitter of guilt you laid upon the body would kill it. So the Course in Miracles is saying something that's radical. What kills the body fastest is believing that you're guilty and sinful. So people are taught to believe the very thing that destroys the body, that you're guilty and that you're sinful. So we make mistakes. Mistakes are for correction. Mistakes should be gently and lovingly corrected, but guilt never solves anything. So the Course is saying guilt is a request for punishment. And so when you feel guilty, you're telling the universe to punish you. So don't be surprised if you're constantly focusing on guilt, that it looks like there's a lot of drama in your life in some form or another, because believing in guilt is a request for punishment. Okay, so the Course says guilt kills the body. See, that's deep. That's deep. And for the Course says guilt and sickness are the same thing. So if I'm feeling sick, the question I should ask myself is, what am I feeling guilty about? What guilt should I let go of? Then go take the medicine. The medicine would be a symbolic gesture that I'm doing to show that I'm willing to be healed. And if you try to heal yourself and you're not successful, don't try to do it anymore. The Course in Miracles says you should rely temporarily on external healing methods, because you believe more in the medicine than you do in your innate healing ability. So if you are trying to heal yourself and it hasn't worked, go ahead and get the Advil. Or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because then it takes your focus off of the body. And because if you're full of pain, you're putting even more attention on the body being what you are. So I've had a lot of friends over the years who wouldn't take medicine or whatever because they said that was just making it more real. And I'm saying, well, if you're aching like hell, that's going to make the body everything. So if you could get rid of the pain, then it would be easier to transcend the idea of the body. I know it makes sense. That's your clue. That's the when you're really being exposed to the truth. It makes sense. So therefore, but now here's the last sentence. It says, but what obeys? Oh no. It says, the glitter of guilt you laid upon the body would kill it. Hear that. Next time you're putting yourself down and feeling guilty. Then it says, for what the ego loves, what the fearful mind loves, what the guilty mind loves, it kills for its obedience. So it's almost like if you're in love with the person that's full of guilt and fear, the nicer you are, the more loving you are, the more they mistreat you. Because they don't think they deserve the love that you're giving them, so therefore they try to do everything they can to get you to attack them in some way. So it's almost like people who don't love themselves punish you for being loving to them. And like the Course says, what the ego loves, it kills. So the part of me that doesn't love myself, I'm going to be the hardest on what is obedient and kind and loving to me. So remember that the next time you get ready to get in a relationship where you're going to have to fix somebody. Okay? The reward you're looking for probably isn't coming. All right? It can be like just pouring water down a bottomless pit. No matter what you do, it's never enough. So the Course says, But what obeys the ego not, what obeys fear not, what obeys the idea of guilt or sin not, the ego cannot kill. That's powerful. Yeah. If I don't obey my fear, if I don't obey my guilt, if I don't obey the idea that I'm separate, then none of those things can hurt me or affect me because I'm not following the rules of guilt. I'm not following the rules of fear. I'm not following the rules of attack, so therefore I don't experience any of the results of any of that. So as weird as it may seem, the more you disobey the rules of the world, the better your life goes. Yeah. Even though you think, and it'll weird you out because you're doing everything opposite to the way that the world teaches, and you'll see your life working in ways you never would have imagined, and it kind of messes with your head. And then you kind of wonder if you're getting away with something. Right, but you're not doing it the way everybody else is doing it, and so your life is working in ways. But the cool part about spirit is that it allows you to seem normal. So therefore you can move through the world very peacefully without attracting a lot of attention to yourself. Even though you're not going through anything you're hearing your friends talk about, your relatives talk, your life is like smooth as silk pretty much. You know, and you got loving people in your life, you're doing what you love, you know, you're watching things fall into place in ways you could have never imagined. And so you just end up listening to other people complain, and you have compassion for them. But the truth is, you're not going through 90% of any of the stuff that they're going through at all, if you're disobeying fear and guilt and separation. Yeah.
You just answered my question.
Okay.
Well, I just think it's cool because, you know, we get raised, you know, you got to be obedient to your parents and to all these people, and if you're not, you get punished. You know, so here it's just saying, no, you know, if you're disobedient, you're disobedient to your ultimate parent. Yeah, in other words, it's saying be disobedient to the idea that you're guilty. Right. Be disobedient to the idea that you're separate from love. That's what, when it says being disobedient, doesn't mean like go rob a bank. It's really like, you know what I'm saying?
Glad you clarified that.
Yeah. But you were on the way down to First Tennessee as soon as you left here today, wasn't you? Yeah.
Well, it popped in my mind as you were reading that earlier that the reward of guilt is self-assassination.
Yeah.
The what?
Self-assassination, I like that.
Guilt is self-assassination. Right?
Wow.
The guiltier you are, the more you're going to punish yourself.
Yeah.
Because you think you're going to absolve yourself from the guilt. Because when I grew up, if you disobey, you got a whipping. You know, what I experienced as a child, they call child abuse now. But it was good parenting back in the older days. And I'm not justifying it. All I know is there were no metal detectors. Nobody ever got shot up in my school. Nobody was getting murdered every day. So I'm not saying it's justified. I just know it's a big difference between what it was like when I was going to school and what it's like now in every area. But that's because there's so much light and love coming into the world right now that is bringing up everything that needs to be healed. That's what's really happening. That's what people don't realize. It's because like you take this group right here, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of groups like this now on the internet. So there's a lot. The truth is spreading faster than ever before, even though it looks like it's not. It is. And so, and that reaction that we've seen in the world is to so much light and love, because whenever you receive a lot of love, everything in you that doesn't think it deserves it, you become aware of it. You know, so it's actually a good sign what's going on right now, because now things aren't hidden. The racism isn't hidden, the fear isn't hidden, the guilt isn't hidden, nothing is hidden. So now it can be healed because it's not hidden. Jason?
I just had a spirit message last night that goes right along with that the more you practice, the more light you bring into the world, the harder the world is to deal with, the ickier it is, the shadier it is. And that's evidence that you're actually doing the work.
Right.
Because you are become less tolerant of the way it used to be.
Well, one of the Course in Miracles teaches that when you start to have a spiritual awakening, you become more intolerant of intrusions of discomfort. You don't become more patient with pain and suffering. You become less patient. Being spiritual doesn't mean you can suffer longer and better than you ever could before. It means you no longer believe you deserve to suffer all the time. So the more you wake up spiritually, the more intolerant you become of attack or guilt or lack, or you won't put up with it like you used to, because you know you deserve better than that.
So Marianne asked just a clarifying question. She says, so the guilt is because we don't have belief in the truth of who we truly are.
Yeah, the Course says that what really the origin of guilt is coming from telling yourself a lie. And the lie that you're telling yourself is that you are alone and that you're not connected to your source. And all of us know we are connected to our source, and all of us know we are connected to each other. So every time you say, I'm alone, I'm on my own, nobody loves me, that's a lie. And so that's where the original guilt came from, the idea of being separate. Yeah. Because you know it's not true. In your heart and soul, you know it's not true. You know, we all know the truth. Don't forget now, we all know the truth. We're just pretending we don't. And some of us have decided it's time to wake up now. And then all of a sudden there are books you study, classes you go to, workshops. That's just you. You know, it's like, I look at it like popcorn in a skillet the way we used to do it. You know, all the kernels don't pop at the same time. You can say that again. Right? So, you know, so you might pop before your best friend. You might pop before your partner. But they're going to pop. All of y'all going to pop. Y'all all going to pop. Y'all going to pop. So just be patient.
Thanks for popping us.
That's right.
Just be patient and stay obedient to the higher path of the heart.
Right.
And God.
That's right. That's right. I was very rebellious against all those ideas of guilt and sin and that kind of thing. Even when I was told you don't question the Bible, it just didn't feel right to me, right? And so I rebelled. Then I got into the Course in Miracles, which was based on the idea of an unconditionally loving Creator. And then I was being given things to do to allow myself to become aware of that. Then I had to realize, okay, Earl, you don't have to rebel anymore. Stop rebelling. And why don't you just do what you're being told then? Because I was so used to rebelling that I was even going to rebel against the Course. So I was always fighting the Course and what it was. That's when then my inner self said, it's no reason for you to do that now because this is what you want. You don't rebel against what you want. You rebel against what you don't want, right? So I knew my God was a loving God. I knew my Creator was a loving Creator. I knew it made sense to think I wasn't a victim of the world I see. That what I really was something beyond the body. And then I was being taught, well, how do I become aware of that? And then I was rebelling. So I was spending a lot of time fighting the principles of the Course and fighting what the truth was saying. And I thought, that's kind of dumb. I'm fighting against the thing I say I want. So I literally had to stop and go, stop rebelling now, Raj. Obey. Obey. What do you mean obey? It will stop seeing yourself as sinful. Stop seeing yourself as guilty. Stop seeing yourself as a victim. Obey. See your Creator is all loving. See yourself as innocent. Obey. And then watch what happens. And then form relationships with people who are also committed and dedicated to seeing their innocence, sinlessness, and guiltlessness, because that makes it happen even faster. Because we have a tendency to give a lot of value to what other people think who we're close to. So if I'm in a relationship with someone that's constantly criticizing me, judging me, condemning me, then that's crazy. Because then I'm constantly feeding myself thoughts of arrogance. Right? So again, the people that you bring into your inner circle, those are going to be the people that influence your thinking the most. So a lot of times people come to classes like this and be around people that want to be more loving, then walk right out the door, and then spend the rest of their time with people who are constantly arrogant and seeing themselves as guilty, sinful, think you're crazy for what you're studying. Why would you want to invest energy in relationships like that unless you wanted to suffer? That's why you can't get away from it. Yeah, because they're giving you what you want. Everything in the world is a picture of your own secret wishes. The Course in Miracles says all you're ever experiencing is your own secret wishes. This is what you want, but you don't know you want it. That job you have is a job you want, but you don't know you want it. That's that relationship you're in right now. That's the relationship you want, even though you may not know that you want it. It's not being thrust upon you. You secretly want that kind of treatment. That's why it's there.
And interesting, on the flip side of everything that's not in my reality that I think that I want, I actually don't want.
There you go. See, that's empowerment. You know, it's like if I'm angry, I don't say I'm angry. I say I'm making myself angry. I always preface whatever I say. I'm making myself mad about this, or I'm making myself happy about this. Because then, no matter what you feel, you're empowering yourself. Because you're not being a victim of it. All righty?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next paragraph. Okay. Time passes by fast when you're torturing people. I'm going to do slow torture for you tomorrow. I'm going to slow your torture down for you, buddy. All right. So you have another dedication. You have another dedication. You have another dedication that would keep the body incorruptible, which means perfect, as long as it is useful for your loving, holy purpose. So we're only talking about love or fear. So when you see words like holy, just say love, because that's all it's talking about. So you have another dedication that would keep your body perfect as long as it's useful for your healing purpose. So what would be that dedication that would be helpful? He says, the body no more dies. Now this is true. Okay, here we go. The body no more dies than the body can feel. In other words, the body does nothing. It's neutral. It's you that's doing it with the body. It's always you. Your body is just always following orders.
I'm making my body a call.
I'm making whatever's going on. My body does not have any personal desires. My body is just doing what I tell it to. The body is giving me the feelings I am asking myself. I want to feel. You are the giver. The Course in Miracles says you are the sender and the receiver. You are the sender. You are the, so everything you feel is coming from you. I'll say it again. Everything you feel is not coming from the other person. It's coming from you. That something about that person is triggering you to give yourself that feeling, and then you say that person makes me feel love, or I'm feeling this person's love. You're feeling your love. Something about them is allowing you to feel your love. So it's important to recognize that the body is neutral. It's not doing anything. That means what? It's not corruptible. It's not incorruptible, because the body is not judging itself. So the body isn't going, I'm corrupted. The body isn't going, I'm sinful. The body isn't feeling guilty about that big old piece of pie. That's you feeling guilty about that big old piece of pie, not the body. So it says the body is the result. It says it is nothing. It is the result of a tiny mad idea of corruption that can be corrected. For God has answered this insane idea with his own, an answer which left not God, and therefore brings the Creator to the awareness of every mind which heard his answer and so accepted it. So the Course says basically, whatever we have made, and it actually claims we made the body, not God. Because why? It says because the body doesn't last.
God creates, we make.
We make. We are makers. And the God is a creator. And then it says the difference between a creation and a making is very simple. If it's created, it's permanent. If it's made, it's temporary. See, that's too simple. Okay, so if that's true, what is the world that we see? Made. It's made. That's deep.
But then how does that fit into Megan's analogy that she offered earlier? Like, of God creating us. I don't know, I heard that and I thought of God creating my body.
But that's what the Course is saying to you, is that the body is neutral. Everything here is neutral. And then we are the one that determines whether we're going to use it for love or for fear. And the Creator created the creations. So like that's what Megan was talking about. Like we were created by love. So we were created by love. But like for instance, I bake a cake. The cake doesn't even look anything like me. So I can make a cake, I can bake a cake, but if I identify myself as being the cake, now I'm insane. So what we really are, and you gotta remember now what we really are as children of God. That means we have the same unlimited power to create that our Creator has. We've been taught we're just limited bodies that live a certain number of years and die, and in the process we should try to pursue power, fame, money, and physical pleasure. And that's what we're taught, right? And so the Course in Miracles is saying to us that but all of that can be used to wake you up to who you really are. So therefore, you don't have to be in opposition to your physical world. You just want to give it a new purpose. I want to give everything I do a new purpose. And it's not but two purposes. I'm going to keep it simple. Either I'm going to use this as for the purpose of love and peace, or I'm going to use this for the purpose of conflict and upset. You know, and the ego likes to make everything complicated. It ain't complicated. Stop trying to make this complicated. It's not complicated. Okay? I can use this book to scare the hell out of me, like some Course in Miracles students do, or I can use this book and feel totally inspired. The book is neutral. That's true of every single thing you see. And so you don't have to quit your job. You don't have to leave your family. You can just ask that everything that you have made in your life be used for the purpose of awakening and peace. And then your guide, the Holy Spirit, will show you how to do that. Because you can't, it says it over and over again, you cannot heal yourself.
That's right.
And that's the big mistake we make. We come to classes or we go to workshops with the perspective of, I'm now going to get information that allows me to better heal myself. You are not the healer.
Hallelujah.
Love is the healer. God is always the healer. You don't heal nothing. That's why it's always funny when I hear somebody say, I'm a healer. Okay. I heard people say it all the time. No, Spirit is the healer. God is the healer. Love is the healer. That which created us. We are conduits.
What about I am a facilitator of a healing?
Cool. That's cool. Yeah, I'm a facilitator.
Of healing.
Yeah, of healing. I'm a conduit that it can come through. Great. I don't want to be the source of it. You know, right. You know what I'm saying? You know, you having trouble getting to the cleaners that you want to think you can heal the universe. You know what I'm saying? Come on, let's get real. You know, yeah. You know, you think about the little simple things that you don't pull off every day, and all of a sudden you're gonna see yourself as the healer of everything and everybody. That's too much.
What awes me about myself is that as I go through this and as I start to let go of the fears and the BS that I've been telling myself and knocking myself down with, as I let them go and as they start to fade, I find myself wanting to reach back into them because I don't feel stable without them.
Right.
You know, it's just sort of like, you know, but what if I don't have that feeling of inadequacy? You know, I've lived with it my whole life. You know, I can't live without it.
That's right.
And it really awes me how as I get clearer, you know, and as I untangle myself, how I have this early morning urge to jump back in there, you know, into the cesspool.
Well, your separated self is feeling threatened. Your ego is feeling threatened by the truth that you're recognizing, right? So that part of you has always been in charge. And so it's no longer going to be in charge. So that part of you was trying to pull your attention back to it.
It's really strong and hard.
The Course calls it a defense against the truth. That the minute you say, I've made the decision to have a more loving, happy life, that part of you that doesn't believe in any of that that's been in charge, that part of you is then going to do everything it can to make you think that's a bunch of crap. It's not going to work. So I always tell people, as soon as you say you're going to make a radical shift, then expect that you're going to come up with some opposition. Don't think that's just going to go, okay, and your old self is going to go, oh, fine, I'm so glad. You know, your old self is going to be going, hell no, I'm going to show you none of this works. This is crazy. So you go out and probably be tempted to pick the worst relationship you've ever had. Right? Because that could delay you. You know, so you have to be especially aware the ones you make radical declarations of change. You know, the old self.
Yeah, I don't want to bring another teacher into this, but I was rereading A Return to Love, and Marianne Williamson in that book actually talks about the body as an ally. I mean, the body actually has more intelligence than we give it credit for.
But the Course is saying that the body isn't making any decisions about what you're going to do with your day. Right. Your body isn't making any decisions about whether you're going to jog or whether you're going to walk. So the innate intelligence of the body that allows the body to function, yeah, that's in the body.
But what she is saying is that the cells in the body have their own intelligence, and they cooperate with one another.
Right.
And move you toward health. But the ego, our ego is more like cancer. Okay? It takes the position that's not good for us. It takes the position that we're alone and doesn't cooperate with our better good.
Well, the basic premise of the course, that as I understand it, is that that everything is coming from mind and everything is coming from spirit,
Right.
and that the body is neutral, and that the body is going to do whatever it is ultimately that the mind decides. So
Right.
if I have a lot of guilt and fear, that's going to affect the way that the cells in my body operate. So still my body is following orders.
Right.
The main point of that section to me is to get us to understand that there's no point in blaming your body for anything.
Right.
There's so many people that hate their bodies.
Oh,
They don't like their bodies, and it's body shame, and they, because we have these external standards of beauty that everybody's told us you should look like for you to be beautiful, and then people beat themselves up, if you don't look that way. You know what I'm saying? And so then I feel guilty, then I attack my body because the course says minds can't attack because mind's unphysical. So I can't attack you with my mind, right? I have to use my body to do it. Right. So it's important to understand that my body is just going to act out either my ego thoughts or my Holy Spirit or loving thoughts. As much as you can, try to focus on the simplicity of it, because it's the simplicity of it that allows it to function the fastest. So be glad that everything in the world is neutral, because if it is, then you don't have to feel like what you've done with your body is sinful or bad, because it's neutral. You're the one that's going to give it all the meaning, right? So you're going to be the one. That's why I tell people, don't do the things you feel guilty about, not because those things are necessarily wrong, but you think they are. And because you think they are, you're going to punish yourself for doing it. You can count on it. That's why you drink a whole lot, you have a big hangover the next day. That's the punishment for what you did. That's you feeling guilty about it. Yeah, so now you're punishing yourself later. You can't hardly walk during the day. Because he says that we believe we have to pay for pleasure with pain. That we actually have to pay for our pleasures. So you have a good time, then you get sick. You've done it. We've all had that. We've all had that. We've done it over and over again, where you do something and you're feeling really great, and then within 24 hours, all hell breaks loose, right? Because there's a part of you that feels like you need to pay for that through some kind of pain.
I want to hear what she has to say, but she's kind of in the corner, so.
Hi.
Hey.
So, I'm just gathering what you've been saying, putting it into one mash of how I see everything. So, we need to come back to being born again. So imagine you haven't even absorbed any information of how to act in this world, and we undo it all. We come back to being a fetus, just being here, just being a fetus, and we realize that we really don't know what we can't put a label on what we are. We just feel, and in the category of creator and essence and beauty, we just need to look at our human body without any thoughts of it and just observe it for what it truly is. And we have to realize that we've been told, you are John, and you're a dude, and this is what you are, and welcome to this material world where, you gotta figure it out yourself. All this internal, crazy feelings inside, you can either let them bury it inside, or we can let them rise up, look at them, and just let them fade away. So, last thing. This voice inside our heads tells us and tries to fool us by saying that we are this body and we are this separate thing and we're alone in this. But truly, we're not. When we feel within, the Holy Spirit is always quietly hugging our hearts forever, eternally, no matter what. And our material bodies will die, but we are not it. And we just need to see the oneness and light within each other, because we're all a tribe, we're all brothers and sisters, We all are in human bodies. We all need to laugh it off. And life's a joyous dance. And all these constructs, that's what's been made. But the nature and the beautiful nothingness and the beautiful bodies here, not the constructs in that world, is what's created. And we need to get back to creation.
I agree. I agree 100%. I love it when you talk dirty. Okay. That's the truth. That's what I say at the very beginning. So we're not the body. But the body, it's all about what are you using it for? What are you seeing it for? Am I going to use it for unity, or am I going to use it for separation? And then it was told if I feel guilty, then I'm attacking it at some level. So I agree 100%
And then
with what you just said.
I'm actually killing myself,
That's
killing
right.
the body.
The body. Yeah. With all the thoughts,
guilt.
because it's thoughts. It's the thoughts that are affecting the physical world, and we are beyond the physical world. This is not our ultimate reality. And if you were to really be with that this is not your ultimate reality. This is, I call it Earth School. This is where I'm learning lessons in love and forgiveness, and the constructs and concepts that we have that we learn from the world. These concepts are not who or what we really are, but since the Course talks about how it works with us where we are. So it will talk to us as if we're separate, even though we're not. It'll talk to us as if God seems to be separate, even though it's not. And so it says, I'm going to take what you've made. You all have made concepts, okay? So I'm going to give you some concepts that will take you beyond concepts. Doesn't that make more sense, though? You got to reach me where I'm at. Yeah. And then from where I'm at, lift me up. Correct me, wake me up. And I think that's a great approach for spirit to take in our awakening. That way you're not, like I said earlier, you're not in opposition with your world all day. You don't feel like you have to throw away everything in your life in order to become enlightened, when everything in your life can be part of your spiritual enlightenment and your awakening.
It's all interconnected.
It's all interconnected. We are all interconnected. But there's a part of us that prefers to believe it's separate.
Yeah.
In other words, if I'm separate from you and I'm disconnected from you, then I don't have to experience what you go through. See, there's advantages, to the ego mind. There's a big advantage to thinking you're separate, because you just have to look out for yourself by yourself, and you don't have to be concerned about anybody, anything else. So the Course says we're not afraid of separation. The Course in Miracles says what we are afraid of is joining. That love is what we're afraid of, not fear. We're used to fear. We know how to do fear and guilt and anger. But if somebody says to you, I want you to be unforgiving, totally loving and forgiving, then we go, whoa. Yeah, but me getting mad because you didn't do something I wanted you to do, I can pull that off in 2 seconds. Yeah. So anger and fear is not what we're afraid of. It's being vulnerable, being open, trusting. So it's easy to always say, I want love, I want intimacy, but it never shows up. Instead of you recognizing that you have a secret fear of intimacy, and that's why it's not showing up. There's a part of you that doesn't want to really have an intimate relationship. That's the only reason why it's not showing up. It has nothing to do with you wanting it and it's not showing up. Because if you see it that way, you're looking at yourself as a victim.
And the lack.
Yeah, and lack. So empowerment is simply, I'm taking 100% responsibility for my experience. That's all. That's the key right there. There's nothing happening to me that I'm not the one that's determining how I see it. So in the end, how I'm feeling is coming from me. That's powerful. But that's what will make the magic happen in your experience, because we are unlimited.
You have to realize also that we're not lonely. We may be alone, but we've always got God, so we're never lonely.
That's true. That's true. Well, that's what I said. We all know that, and that was the original lie. The original lie is that I'm separate, and that I'm alone, and that I'm not hooked up to spirit. And so I'm out here by myself trying to do it on my own, because the Course says the world teaches us that to be mature, you have to be autonomous and self-sufficient. And that the key to maturity is how much you don't need anybody. Which is what, so think about this. If you have the core belief that you have to do everything on your own, and that you're alone, and that's your belief, and belief makes your perception of reality, then it's going to always look like you don't have support. It's going to look like there's nobody there for you, but you don't realize it's rooted in your belief that you're on your own and you have to do it on your own. So your physical universe, none of your thoughts, which is really great, none of your thoughts are really hidden. All you have to do is open your eyes. Your life, that's your thoughts. Now you know all your thoughts. Now it says we make up a face of innocence, and the face of innocence is the face we make up that we're just these really nice people that would never kick nobody's butt if they didn't mess with us first. That I'm a really nice person. I wouldn't attack unless I was defending myself. And he says underneath that face, we got the other face, which is the one that's mad as hell, that thinks it's been done wrong in some way, and it has a lot of anger that's repressed. He calls those the two faces. And we're not either one of them, because they're all concepts that we learned about ourselves. So you're innocent, you're awesome, you're loving, you're lovable, you're powerful, you're eternal. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Yes. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, what you love me?
So are you.
Oh, thank you, baby. I appreciate that. That's right. Just my thoughts. See, my thoughts are talking back to me. I know that's right. And then I'm saying than I ever thought. So let's acknowledge ourselves for hearing this much today. Woo! Lord have mercy. So I'm going to do a really quick little recap here. And we're going to do the financial expression of appreciation. I really appreciate you sharing with me as a full-time teacher and also supporting Unity Temple so we can continue to do what we do here. All that you give is given to yourself. I appreciate it so much. Those of you online, if you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation, go to www.earlpurdy.com. earlpurdy.com. Also, I'm available for one-on-one sessions called Clarity Sessions. And I also bring in my 40 years of experience with divine, sacred astrology and numerology, as well as all of the principles of the Course in Miracles and other truth teachings. Don't forget what I said earlier. Whatever you learn, whatever your talent, whatever your skill is, Holy Spirit can use that as a tool for awakening. So just because I got into the Course in Miracles doesn't mean I'm going to use other skills that I learned before I got into the Course in Miracles. It means those skills can be used for awakening also. And if you're one of these people that have been waiting, well, what is it that I'm here to do? I guarantee you, if you really study the Course, it'll be revealed to you. It will be revealed to you, which is different from you having to make it up as you go along.
Too.
You got to keep asking. I do a Facebook Live class, The Way of Mastery, 7 p.m. Mountain Time on Tuesday evenings on Facebook Live. And then on Thursdays, I do what I call Hardcore Course in Miracles. That's especially geared toward people who are already studying the material, so I can go even deeper. That's on, but anybody can watch it. That's Thursdays at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, and of course, this Course in Miracles class at 1 o'clock. You don't have to be a member of Facebook to watch the live broadcast. Sometimes people think they have to be a member of Facebook. You just go to this link, www.facebook.com//Earl Purdy Live. If you just put that Earl in, you'll see Earl. Okay, that Earl will take you to Earl.
I need to make an announcement online when we
Okay, okay. So wanted to make sure, yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to close it up and then give you all an opportunity to make some more announcements. Thank you, darling. And next Saturday, CJ and I, Dr. CJ Adams, Carla Jean Adams, and I are doing a workshop called Share the Love.
Share the love.
It's an evolutionary relationship workshop, and it's for all types of relationships, bringing into our experience of the Course in Miracles and many other things. It's going to be a very powerful workshop, and you can go online to register for it. We're going to do it. You can do it online. You can also come here and do it in person. So if you go to my website, and on the home page, you will be able to get more details about it. It's going to be off the chain, and it's next Saturday.
Yes. We've been waiting for something like this.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited. I'm excited because I never know. You know, we have the downloads that we get, but in the end, Holy Spirit is going to always be in charge of what we're doing. And so I'm excited. I'm excited about it. It's going to be powerful. Okay, so, and then we got some...
Yeah, I need to be online. So go ahead and do your wrap up. I'll come over.
Okay. All right. So now, so there's an important announcement right at the end that CJ is going to do, and Jason has something he wants to say also. Okay, so here's the wrap. Okay, one thing you heard today that you really want to remember is, anybody, one thing you heard that you want to take away.
I'm assassinating myself when I choose to live with guilt.
Yes, when you see yourself as sin, you got to get rid of this belief in sin, the belief in guilt. That's a self-assassination and an attack on your physical body. So you can see your guilt as a call for love. You can see your guilt as a call for innocence. You can see your guilt as a reminder to remind you not to see yourself that way. And then all of a sudden you're using it to your advantage. Rachel?
Guilt is a request for punishment.
Guilt is a request for
I
punishment.
seem to be punished a lot, so I must be requesting many things.
Well, that would be a very empowering statement to say that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
If I'm feeling sick, then I can ask what it is that I'm feeling guilty about.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm feeling some sort of ache in the body. I can say. I can
And
ask.
that's and it's not about beating yourself up, you know, at all. It's not about condemning. You just go, oh, I have some error thinking going on right now.
And
That's
errors
all
are
it
made
means.
for
Yeah,
correction.
and errors are for correction. Not got that go to punishment thing, right? Okay.
I need to remember that the end creates the means. So instead of just trying to always take actions to determine where I'm going to end up, I have to set my goal and my intention, and then allow the rest to be revealed to me. And my healing is through God. I don't have to do it myself.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everything is neutral, and it's only the meaning I give to it.
Everything is neutral. I give everything I see all the meaning that it has for me. The next row, the molar.
It brings to me the principle of cause and effect. If you put them in one place, you realize that you are the one causing whatever you're experiencing.
That's right.
And God can only cause your happiness. So if God is not causing your happiness, then who else is causing your suffering?
That's right. The cause and effect. I am not the victim of the world I see. I am not the victim. Okay?
What I'm experiencing now is what I really want.
Whoa! Everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked. You know, you might go, why in the hell am I asking for that? But at least you're not seeing yourself as a victim. Kobe.
Keep it simple. The love I see in you is the love I see in you.
The love you see in me is the love that you're seeing in yourself. Because all I'm seeing are my thoughts.
That's right.
The judgment that I see in you is the judgment that I see.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're not your judgment. So even as you say that, remember that it's still not what you are. You are only love. That's all you are. That's all you are.
Could you say that I'm not a victim of the world I see? The world is a victim of the world. The world is a victim of me.
No, I don't think the world. There's no victim.
Okay, well, but it's just kind of the way we see it is how we create our victim.
Yeah. The way we're seeing it is creating our victim. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And my self-hatred is pure arrogance.
And if I hate myself, I'm just being extraordinarily arrogant. You little arrogant son of a guns, y'all stop being arrogant the rest of the day. That's right. That's right. Anybody else? Anybody else?
Allow spirit to enter.
Allow spirit to enter.
Please.
Yeah, it's neutral. You're not the body, but the body is a communication device. It's the way that we allow ourselves to express love at this level of consciousness. Don't forget, you got concepts that you learned from the time you got here. Those concepts become your idea of yourself, and then that's what you perceive around you. And the Course is letting you know you're beyond constructs, you're beyond ideas. You are infinite beings having a human experience right now. It is all a lesson in forgiveness and love. That's what it is. That's all it is. Mm-hmm.
We can choose to not be afraid of love.
We can choose to not be afraid of love, to not be afraid of joining, to not be afraid of unity. Yeah, I love that line when the Course says, no, your real fear is of joining. Your fear isn't of being separate. Your fear is of a connection.
So a couple online.
Okay, online folk.
So Marianne says, all that I give is given to myself.
That's right.
And she wants to remember that. And Rose says she wants to remember that guilt and sickness are the same.
That's right. Guilt and sickness are the same. And it's all a call for love. So again, it's just a call for love. So, mighty companions, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming today. Yes. And may the course be with you. We got an announcement.
Hey, we're so excited for next Saturday and to have you join. Several of you have paid through PayPal, and you paid with like business accounts that have no name on them. So I responded back, and I don't think you're getting the emails. So if you signed up for the course next week and you think you haven't heard from me, check the email that is attached to your PayPal, because I'm probably asking for your name and sending you a link. You should have received from me a link that tells you where all the documents are going to be stored, and you should have bookmarked it. So if not, hit me up in the instant messenger on Facebook and, or here on the page, and I'll follow up. But check your email attached to your PayPal.
All
Love
right.
you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And remember, that's May 12, 2018. Because this will be on YouTube, so forever. All right. I love you. Hugs are available. And I just... Oh, yeah. Let me. Jason has a quick announcement he wants to make, too.
While he's getting offline. So this Tuesday night here.